Today, we're diving deep into the top 5 most valuable wheat pennies ever discovered. Are you sitting on a fortune and don't even know it? That old penny in your pocket change or tucked away in a drawer could be worth thousands, maybe even millions, thousands of dollars. These aren't just rare, they're legendary among collectors, with fascinating stories and jaw-dropping auction prices. From wartime errors to ultra-rare mintages, you won't believe how much some of these little copper coins have sold for. Stick around your next treasure hunt. We're uncovering the jaw-dropping story behind one of the most valuable and rarest Lincoln wheat cents ever struck, the 1920-era wheat penny that collectors dream of. We're talking misstrikes, off-metal wonders, ghost mint marks, and coins that were never meant to exist. To truly appreciate the 1920 Lincoln wheat penny, we've got to go back over 100 years. The U.S. Mint was operating at full steam after World War I, striking millions of coins to support the booming post-war economy. In 1920 alone, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 310 million pennies. But as we'll soon see, quantity does not equal perfection. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner. Its obverse features: off-metal strike on silver dime planchet, $90,000 to $200,000 plus, 2.5 G instead of 3.11 G, 90% silver, 10% copper, 1920 double die obverse, DDO, $2,000 to $10,000. The doubling must be clear and strong, not blurry or mechanical. Off-center strike, $500 to $5,000 depending on how far off. Lincoln's head struck only partially on the coin. The farther off-center, the higher the value up to a point. Struck on foreign planchet, $10,000 to $75,000. Struck on a Cuban 2-centavo planchet or Philippine coin blanks, due to coin production overlap in U.S. mints. How to identify a real treasure. Now that you know what to look for, here are some tips for identifying a $100,000 plus coin from an ordinary one. Check the weight. Use a precise scale. If your 1920 penny weighs closer to 2.5 G than 3.11 G, it could be struck on a silver dime or foreign planchet. Use a loop. Look for doubled features in the inscriptions or date. Inspect the edge. A reeded edge, like a dime, instead of a smooth one, is a major red flag and a good one. If you suspect an error, high-quality photos can help experts identify whether it's authentic or not. Get it graded for major errors. Certification from PCGS or NGC can drastically increase its value and authenticity. Famous sales and auction records. Let's look at some real auction prices that prove this coin's insane potential. 1920 penny on dime planchet PCGS MS65, sold for $140,000. 1920 DDO penny NGC MS64 red, sold for $9,400. 1920 off-center 70%, 58 Australian dollars, sold for $3,200. 1920 foreign planchet strike, MS63, sold for $75,500. These aren't just estimates. These are real coins, real sales, and real people who made life chow money. The 1935 wheat penny so valuable. What rare error makes it such a treasure? And how can you tell if you might have one hiding in your coin jar, an old drawer, or your grandpa's forgotten collection? Stay with me, because what we're about to reveal could literally change your financial life forever. We're diving deep into the world of rare error coins, shocking auction sales, jaw-dropping discoveries. Before we get into the jaw-dropping errors and shocking values, let's get familiar with the basic coin. We're talking about the 1935 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The 1935 wheat penny was struck in 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark, over 245 million coins; Denver, D mint mark, over 47 million coins; San Francisco, S mint mark, over 38 million coins; off-center strike, 10 to 90%. Values range from $100 to $1,000 plus, depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is. Broad-struck penny, missing its rim due to striking outside the collar, worth up to $500 to $2,000 in high grade. Struck on a foreign planchet, these errors are extremely rare. One example: struck on a silver dime planchet, sold for over $5,000 to $7,000. Struck through grease or debris. When mint grease obscures parts of the coin's design, depending on visibility and rarity, can fetch $150 to $1,200. Auction sales prices. Now, let's talk money. This is where things go from rare to mind-blowing. One example of the 1935 double die obverse penny, graded in superb condition, MS65 red, sold at a private auction for over $100,000. That's right, 6 figures for a penny smaller than a quarter. Another uncirculated specimen with slightly less visual doubling but still authenticated as a legit DDO sold for nearly $75,000 at a Stacksbauer's auction. And a heavily circulated version, graded only at VF 30, still fetched $12,000, simply because the doubling was so dramatic and obvious. Experts say that if a mint state red example with full details and luster ever surfaces again, bidding wars could drive the price to $150,000 or even $200,000. And here's the kicker, there may still be undiscovered examples out there in basements, attics, and pocket change collections. How to identify this error, what to look for. So how do you know if the 1935 penny you have might be worth a fortune? Here's your quick error spotting guide for the 1935 double die obverse. Doubling, most noticeable on the letters IN and God. Look for strong, shadow-like second impressions. Doubling on Liberty. The B and E in Liberty often show the clearest separation. Doubling on the date, 1935. All 4 digits should show obvious, visible doubling. The 5 especially has a curved tail that looks doubled like a reflection. We're diving deep into the world of the 1936 rare wheat penny, a coin that has stunned collectors, broken auction records, and left numismatists speechless. We'll uncover the mind-blowing history behind this copper treasure, explain what makes it so rare, and reveal how a simple minting mistake turned an everyday coin into a 6-figure sensation. The wheat penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent, began production in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became an instant hit among Americans and coin collectors alike. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse side of these pennies featured 2 stylized wheat ears. Off-center strikes. Especially over 50% off, up to $500 to $2,000. Die cracks or cuts. Varies, but some go for $106,000 to $8,000. Clipped planchets. Coins that look like a bite was taken out of them, up to $100 to $500. Auction highlights and big sales. Let's take a look at some real-life auction results. In 2019, an MS-65 red example of the 1936 double die obverse sold for $120,000 through Stacksbauer's. In 2021, another red gem graded by PCGS as MS-66RD reached $170,000 in a private collector sale. And whispers in the numismatic world suggest that an ultra-rare, near-flawless MS-67 red may have been privately exchanged for over $250,000, though not all private transactions are publicly confirmed. These aren't just theoretical numbers. These are real collectors, real money, and real coins changing hands at jaw-dropping prices. How to identify a 1936 DDO wheat penny. Now let's get practical. Here's how you can check if you've struck gold, or copper. In this case, examine the coin under natural light or use a 5x or 10x magnifying glass. Look for clear doubling on. The letters should show strong overlapping lines. 1936. The date will appear as if it was stamped twice. Warning: there are counterfeits and weak double dies, but only the strongest and clearest doubling is considered the real high-value error. Your best bet. If you suspect you have one, send it to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and authentication. A certified label is critical if you ever want to sell it. We're uncovering the untold story of the 1937 wheat penny error, a treasure hiding in plain sight. We'll break down its shocking history, expose the secrets behind the error, and reveal how collectors are shelling out up to single flawless coins. Stay to the end, because you might just be sitting on one of these copper jackpots without even knowing it. By 1937, the wheat penny had become a staple in every American's pocket, but buried within that year's production run lies a coin so rare and so unusual that even many seasoned collectors don't know its full story. The Lincoln wheat penny, minted from 1909 to 1958, is one of the most collected coins in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse featured Abraham Lincoln, making it the first U.S. coin to depict a real person. Off-center strikes. The coin appears shifted or cut off. Values range from $100 to $1,500 depending on percentage of the off-center. Clipped planchet. A piece of the coin is missing due to a faulty blank, can fetch $75 to $400. Die cracks and cuts. $50 to $300 depending on clarity and grade. These may not reach 6 figures, but they still turn pocket change into serious cash. Sales and auction records. Let's talk real numbers. Here are a few mind-blowing sales of the 1937 DDO wheat penny. In 2020, a PCGS-certified MS66 red example sold at Heritage Auctions for $168,000. In 2023, an uncirculated 1937 DDO with blazing red luster and perfect centering was rumored to be privately sold for a jaw-dropping $300,000. Lower-graded $55 examples have sold for $4,000 to $8,000, proving that even worn versions are highly sought after. Collectors are chasing these coins like buried treasure because they know their value will only increase with time. How to identify a valuable 1937-era penny. So how do you know if you have a rare 1937-era penny? Here's what to look for. Step-by-step checklist. Examine the date, 1937, closely. Look for any doubling, especially on the 1, 9, 3, or 7 digits. Use a jeweler's loupe or coin microscope for best results. On a doubled die, Lincoln's face may appear shadowed or doubled. The motto might have clear doubling too. Weigh the coin. A normal 1937 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If it's heavier or lighter, say around 2.5 g or 5 g, you may have a coin struck on the wrong planchet. Inspect the color and surface. Does the coin look silvery or have a nickel-like shine? It might have been struck on a dime or nickel planchet. Check the strike alignment. Is the design centered, or does it seem lopsided or missing portions? That could be an off-center strike. Professional grading. If your coin has any unusual traits, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. A small investment can turn into a major windfall. We're diving deep into the shocking secrets of the 1945-era wheat penny, a coin minted during the aftermath of World War II, with mistakes so rare, collectors are battling to pay small fortunes for them. So grab your coin collection, check your piggy banks, and don't blink because you might just be holding a life-changing fortune in the palm of your hand. The world was changing rapidly, and so was the US Mint. During wartime, materials like copper, tin, and steel were in short supply. In fact, just 2 years earlier in 1943, pennies were struck from zinc-coated steel instead of the usual copper, creating the famous steel penny. But in 1945, the US Mint returned to making pennies primarily from copper-based alloys, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Millions were produced and most were ordinary, struck on a silver planchet. Struck on a silver dime planchet has reportedly sold for over $200,000, with estimates reaching up to $350,000 based on condition and demand. Off-center strike errors, 5% to 90%, up to $5,000 plus. But coins that are 50% to 90% off-center, especially with full date and mint mark visible, can command $1,000 to $5,000 or more at auction. Double die obverse DDO. In mint state, MS65 red has sold for over $15,000, with lesser examples fetching between $300 and $2,000. Wrong planchet errors. These foreign planchet errors can easily sell for $10,000 to $25,000, depending on type and condition. Auction records that will blow your mind. Let's take a look at the real-world sales that prove just how crazy the market is for 1945-era wheat pennies. 1945 penny on silver dime planchet, sold for $312,000. PCGS graded $55, sold privately through Heritage Auctions in 2021. Only known example of its kind. Double denomination 1945 penny over Costa Rican coin, $276,000. Unique numismatic oddity. Featured in a Smithsonian exhibit before going to auction. Graded MS62 by NGC. How to identify one? Could you have a penny? Here's how you can check your 1945 pennies at home. Weight the coin. Use a jeweler's scale. Regular 1945 penny equals 3.11 grams. Anything significantly lighter, 2.5 g or less, could indicate a wrong planchet, including silver. Look closely at the date and letters. Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe to examine date doubling, DDO. Mint mark doubling, RPM. Strong off-center strikes. Odd color or luster, grayish equals silver. Ring test, for silver planchet. Gently tap the coin with another metal object. If it rings like a silver dime, stop and get it authenticated immediately.